Think about this. You've spent your whole giving your time and energy as a way to live. Your patience that you gave up for family, friends, work, and even unknown people. And now that you enter the years of your life, you look around. And are you sure you know where all that energy went? Where are you going and who is giving? Tell me the truth, and it's hard. The truth is that almost no one will, because young people move on with their lives. This generation is too busy with their own problems, their own goals, own dreams, and if you spend your old age trying to get their approval by bringing yourself into their world, will find that you are angry, tired, and ultimately let down. So what do? Do you think about yourself all the time? People put all of their energy into others, family, friends, jobs, and even society. They give up time, effort, and feelings to help the people around them a lot, putting other people's needs ahead of their own, that this is normal and even necessary in the beginning of life when responsibilities. Parents, take action. Commit to their kids. Professionals put their all into their mutual, can help you get work done and make friends. Investment, but as time goes on and when you reach old age, you realize not many people do the same for you. Kind of care and attention that was once given for free, this can be a truth to accept that many people find herself feeling like they are not appreciated. Years of giving up have been made for granted. They may expect thanks, attention, or even just company from people they've helped along the way, getting nothing in return, or don't think about the mistake in believing that people around the world will stop and remember what they've done. But life doesn't. Young people are more likely to work that way. Too busy with their own problems, just like the generation before, it was the cycle keeps going, and the person who spent their years of giving must now decide, will they keep using up their resources, or will they finally decide to put their money into their own? Being healthy in old age is not a time to chase after other people or look for approval. It is the time to get back what was once yours. Power away, peace and self-respect means that you set limits that won't be drained by letting go of obligations that aren't necessary of the need to be needed. It means changing the subject inside knowledge that there is. Setting priorities isn't selfish in any way oneself after years of giving up others. Now is the time to look into long interests that were put off to take care of one's mind and body, and to enjoy the simple things that make life worth living, feeling bad about being alone in nature. Reading books that have been on the shelf for a long time, being mindful of these self-care activities are not treats but necessities in old energy, becomes scarce as we age, waste it on people who don't need it. Please understand that it is not good for you. Getting your energy back isn't about giving up on other people, it's about no longer. Giving up on yourself is the realization that the person who needs care the most, who has peace and attention, spent their whole lives giving it to others. One of the best things is silence. Words of wisdom used when they are younger. They feel an overwhelming need to talk, to explain everything, to prove their worth. Argue about it for a long time. Do your best to clear up any confusion, and they hope that by talking louder or more convincingly, others will finally pay attention. But as time goes on, a person starts to see how pointless this is. Most people do not listen with the goal of understand, that they listen with the goal of to answer. They're not looking for wisdom, they want to be proven right, because of what they believe. This is where, when silence is strong, it's not about, it has to do with weakness or passivity. When you talk too much, you lose control. A sign of fear and a need to be heard and okay. But when someone learns to, if you don't say anything, they get deeper. Being aware of the world around them, instead of reacting, they start to watch. They look for patterns in how people act. See through the lies people tell you, and know the difference between time to do something and when not to. Most arguments, no matter how good they are, thoughts that are good, do not lead to solutions. People hold on to their points of view, not willing to change, so the energy spent trying to persuade them is time and effort wasted. As people age, they have to think about what is really important to them, time arguing about things that don't matter. In order to make a point to someone who does not want to listen or explain, people who have already made their choice judge them. The answer is clear. None of as soon as someone stops, it's worth it. Feeling like they need to explain, they feel a huge amount of freedom. They don't get caught in pointless fights that drain them no longer, talks that don't get them anywhere. Understand that silence, a lot of says more than words ever could. Picking silence doesn't mean you'll be alone. You choose where and how to use it. Being aware of what one's words mean. You don't have to say every thought out loud. Not every disagreement needs an answer. And not everyone is worth the work of explaining. There is sense in observing, waiting, and letting things happen without any help. True power doesn't come from how much someone speaks, but how well they understand silence without speaking a word. Then isn't just a lack of speech, it is a sign of wisdom that comes with age. A new point of view that lets a person to take a break from the world's chaos and just watch. When they are younger, they feel an innate need to step in to fix or correct what they think is wrong, and want to offer advice, to let other people know about their mistakes, to help them become better way. But as time goes on, it becomes clear that most people would rather not be led. They don't want to be given wisdom, they want to learn from them, even if it means making the same mistakes that other people have already made, told them this was going to happen. Changes everything slowly instead of quickly. Right people, one starts to see the reason to be quiet and separate. Looking at it from afar shows a better understanding of how people work. It becomes clear who is real and who is not, the person who is speaking out of fear, and those who speak from wisdom. One begin to watch how people show who they really are themselves, not by what they say, but by what they do. When no one is around watching and trying to get involved in the other people, especially old people, often makes people angry when advice it's given but ignored. It makes not needed. When energy is spent, disappointment sets in. When you try to change people, it leads to people who are tired will do what they want. No matter how much experience or the wise people they can talk to must go on their own journey. Just like those, what they saw before didn't make any sense, can take the place of personal experience, and the best gift you can give is sometimes yourself, is the place where other people can pick their own paths, even if they lead to fail. Taking a step back doesn't mean it means knowing that it's not always possible to control everything. It means you can watch without having the urge to direct, to listen. If you don't want to fix it, it's just a form of knowledge that lets a person keep the peace while still being aware of what's going on around them, by putting more emphasis on observation than when one learns a lot more about interference, more people than they ever could by always active. It is in this quiet being aware of where real clarity lies. Being clear gives you a sense of peace that there is no argument, no advice, and no any attempt at control could ever give. One of the main causes of pain are caused by the need to be liked. People spend years and even decades influencing what they do and decide based on how other people will see them. They look for approval from family and friends, family, and even strangers. This want to fit in and be seen as value is deeply ingrained in people. Nature. But as time goes on, it turns into making it painfully clear that no amount of outside approval can ever bring lasting happiness in old age. This realization finds itself more important than ever there. At some point, you have to ask yourself, why am I? I'm still trying to show that I'm right after years of experience, lessons learnt, and struggles with the need to be liked should no longer have power. But many still do, to risk rejection in order to chase it, or insignificance. They want to be appreciated for what they did in the past, hoping that others will see how valuable they are. But the truth is that people are often, they were too busy with their own lives to give the expected validation. Having to wait for other people to notice one's giving money doesn't get you anything. Beating yourself up for giving up this need is a real act of freedom. It means not having to worry about how one is thought of, no longer justifying one's making choices, and not letting other people's opinions affect your own. To be happy, you need to understand that having self-worth doesn't just happen from outside praise. It's something that is inside you in old age, My own opinion is the only one that really matters. Putting themselves first scares a lot of people, means becoming cold or selfish, but in truth be told, it means getting free, opting for peace over pointless conflict, own happiness over unrealistic self-respect, and high hopes over there is an endless search for approval, a deep sense of relief at realizing that you don't have to please. Not everyone will get it, not all people will like, and not all, that is something everyone will agree on. Fine, at this point in time in life, not be spent trying to get attention for it should be used to love one's own truth. The faster one lets go of the need for permission, the faster they can live. Real peace comes from not having any regrets, not in being understood by other people, but in getting to know yourself. And now that this is done, there is no longer a need to explain, to get approval, or to be something other than who they really are. As time goes on, it becomes clear that health and happiness are not extras. Is important for young people often. They ignore their own needs because they think that they have a lot of time and energy. Put work, family, and social life first. Obligations, which often come at the cost of for their own health and peace of mind. But when you get old, there is no more room for the body and mind need this kind of neglect. Not as an afterthought, but as the main thing people do every day. Without this, the last few years of life can be a time of fall instead of a time of happiness by taking care of one's being. Well-being means making a picks that are good for your body, and in the body and mind after decades of use requires that regular movement be respected, nourishing food and enough rest are. They are no longer optional. They are necessary to keep their independence and quality of life. A lot of people think that getting older comes with weakness, but a lot of this drop is the result of years of not caring for it. People who continue to do physical activity, who are aware of their people, who try to stay on a diet and busy with their daily lives a lot, keep their strength for a lot longer than individuals who decide to. Being inactive is just as bad for your mental health. How important the later years of life should be, not have extra stress in your life, worries or relationships that are draining. This now is the time to pick peace over chaos, to fill your space with things that bring happiness instead of anger. Reading that is interesting and useful. Having talks, spending time in nature, and doing things that bring you joy, satisfaction, all lead to a sharp and healthy mind. Thinking about the past as doing things that weren't necessary. Having disagreements or holding on to anger takes away someone's peace. A lot of people spend their younger years taking care of others at their own cost, but this pattern has to change as people get older. Things will keep moving forward in the world, and those who don't plan ahead, they will discover that no one else will do it for them. There's no reason not to spend time on relationships that drain, on things that cause stress, or taking on tasks that don't need to be done. A meaningful goal was the most important thing. Having self-respect means realizing that being healthy isn't selfish. It's important to choose to take care of yourself, both mentally and physically, is not only a way to make people live longer, and a way to make sure that every last second is they lived with honor, purpose, and peace. At some point in life, you learn something sets in. If you don't put yourself first, no one else will. People spend years with, putting in sometimes their whole lives, Others at first thought that their people will remember the sacrifices they made. People will be kind back to you, and that we will always value their presence. But time has a way of showing us hard things. Truths. As people go on with their own lives, the person who used to give everything they had, people who often find themselves overlooked, the energy that was once given to other people rarely comes back in the same measure. This isn't a reason to be angry, but is a reason to get up in old age, that the biggest duty a person has is to these people have nothing to gain by putting off their own happiness for other people who might not even notice the work if someone doesn't want to themselves, if they don't actively look for their own peace and well-being, and when they're done, they'll be left with, "I only felt regret in the later years of." You shouldn't wait your whole life for appreciation, approval, or company from people who are too busy with. Instead, they should worry about, be spent learning to be independent and being able to enjoy being alone. Picking yourself doesn't mean becoming. When you're selfish, you know that there. Putting things in order is fine. It means happiness, health, and peace for you. Building walls with people who only stepping when you take something without giving it back, far away from relationships that don't work out. Adding value means going after the things that make you happy without you having to permission or okay from someone else. Too many people waste their last years feeling used, worn out, or forgotten because they didn't know how to put their own needs first. But there is power in, if you choose differently. The truth is that no one's life slows down if a person keeps waiting for other people to put them first. They will be waiting for all time. The only real power they have is over what they did, their own mind, and the choices they made in how old this truth gets. Without a doubt, happiness is not something that is given. It's something that must accept this as soon as possible. The sooner they can live their last days, years of freedom and peace, give them the respect they deserve.